Hey folks, here OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the Symphonized GTS. This is a pair of in-ear style headphones that also offer wireless Bluetooth. So it's going to work well with most of the modern flagships that gets rid of a traditional headphone port. And if you don't want to use a Lightning headphone or a USB Type-C headphone, this is going to be a good option. Now, Symphonized is a company that's mostly known for their wood in-ear and over-the-ear style headphones. And these, the GTS, are one of the only pairs that they sell that doesn't offer wood in any part of the driver or design. So it's a very typical kind of aluminum look. It's very modern looking, but also different from the brand image that we've kind of gotten used to. Regardless, the price point on these are fair. You can find them for about $26 on Amazon, so they're also quite low cost. And since it is completely wireless, of course you can use them when jogging, when moving outside, and that will be one of the benefits. So packaging here, very simple. You can see it has the independence of 32 ohms, 13 millimeter drivers for the speakers on the earphones, which is decent, and a frequency range of 20 Hertz to 20,000 Hertz. That's very average for something in this price range. Aside from the earphones, contents of the packaging include a clip if you want to attach it to a shirt when you're running or moving. There's also a standard micro USB cable for charging. It takes about 2 hours to completely charge, and afterwards it will last you about 6 hours of use before you need to recharge it, which is average. There of course are stronger endurance models on the market if you need something that has up to, let's say, 24 hours of playback time, but this one is already quite good for most day-to-day use. It will of course get you through a longer flight or a daily commute without any issues. Manual here is documented fairly well. You can also read it for adjusting as well as how to pair it with your device, and of course it works with any computer, any iPhone, any Android device that has Bluetooth on board. So taking a look at the design of the earphones first, again, they are made out of aluminum, so it has a very kind of modern industrial design. They have extra large wings which are used and geared for sports and athletes. So if you want to wear this outside, again, when you're jogging or moving, then this is designed to not fall out quite as easily. You can see that the overall size is definitely a little larger than your typical pair of earphones. So that's probably because they had to squeeze the batteries in here. The remote itself does not have enough space for the full battery compartment, so it's a very interesting design going on. Otherwise, the wire here is very short. It just goes over the back of your neck when you're wearing them. And the small inline remote has been accented with the Symphonized logo, a microphone for answering phone calls, a micro USB port for charging, and there's also the play pause key, which you can tap and hold to power it on and hold for a few seconds longer to start the pairing process. There's also up and down keys for volume. Now the keys themselves are pretty tactile and responsive, and they are risen above the surface, which makes them easy to press even if you're not looking at them directly. The actual ear tips themselves have a slight angle to them, roughly 60 degrees or 120 degrees if you're looking the other way, and that offers a fairly ergonomic fit, at least in my testing so far. And this slight edge here catches on the insides of your ear canals and prevents them from falling out. Now I do wish that this part was coated in a soft touch rubber as opposed to just ABS plastic, because it is a little bit slick. So if you sweat a bit, if it rains too much, then it can get a little bit slippery, but thankfully, again, there's this larger arm which catches very securely onto your ears and prevents them from falling completely out. So overall, the design itself is fairly sleek. It's well constructed. It has a nice heft to it because it's made out of aluminum and soft touch rubber materials. So next, let's talk a little bit about the audio quality and the performance. Overall, I was fairly pleased with the sound quality of these earphones, especially considering the really low price. Now, it's pretty interesting because, as aforementioned, Symphonized is known more for their wood earphones than for these kind of traditional metal-looking earphones. In terms of the sound signature, there's actually not as big of a difference as I originally thought. There is actually still a slight warmth to the overall sound, but as far as Bluetooth earphones go, they also are quite clean sounding. So pausing the music, you won't hear that much distortion or static in the background. Bluetooth headphones in general aren't going to give you as high quality sound as traditional wired headphones, but that's a general trend, and overall these already sound quite good, especially for the price. Considering that many of Symphonized traditional wired headphones retail for about the same price as these, this really is a pretty good value to consider. You can see that these also magnetically will attach, so you can wear it kind of like a necklace to prevent them from falling out completely. Overall, if you're listening to pop music, to electronic music, it does a decent job. I would say that bass is a little bit lacking on these. There's not too much punch in the lower frequencies. Highs can get slightly muddy at higher volumes, but for regular use, as well as to listening to podcasts, to people speaking, it actually does a pretty good job, and I was fairly impressed with the sound. The volume also gets sufficiently loud in my testing. The microphone here isn't noise canceling, so it's not going to drown out your background voices if you're in really loud environments, but overall it works. Battery life in my testing was indeed around 6 hours of use before I needed to recharge it again, and again it takes about 2 hours to complete. So overall, I would say that the performance is solid. It's not something that's mind-blowing, but it's pretty clean. There's a lot less static, there's a lot less distortion than on earlier generation Bluetooth earphones. That's a good thing. Overall, the sound gets sufficiently loud, and even though I want the bass to be a little bit more punchy in the lower frequencies, it does have a pretty warm sound, and I think that for listening to voice, to podcasts, as well as for casual music listening, for genres like pop music, for instance, for radio music, it actually does a pretty good job. And especially since these are meant for outdoor use, for sports, if you take them to the gym, what you really want to concentrate on is going to be on the volume, the fact that it does play back without too much latency, and that it's comfortable to wear, and it ticks all of those boxes without any issues at this price. So you can check out more details about these in our official written review. Overall, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily the most distinctive out of Symphonized line. They certainly do have more premium and detailed sounding earphones, but for 25 bucks, I'm quite impressed with the build quality and the fact that this is so different from what the company usually produces. So thanks for watching this video here at OS Reviews. This has been a closer look at the Symphonized GTS Sports Wireless Bluetooth earphones.